Hello. Thank you guys for clicking the play button. I really appreciate it. Obviously, today's Friday, getting ready to hit Christmas in the next 2 weeks. Very exciting times. In preparation for putting this video together, these videos, they take me a while because I want to make sure that I'm right. I want to double check my numbers, and I watch a plethora of really smart people. But today, an interview came out not that long ago, and I was like, you know what, this guy's gonna make a lot more sense and put things together probably a lot better than I would. So let me just play his video. It's only a couple minutes long, and I think you'll get a lot of information out of it. So here we go.
Well, let's start with the meeting this week and what came out of it, because we got the move up to the restrictive rate that was even more restrictive than people thought. And, inflation has stayed high. It's proved hard to get down, probably harder than you thought.
By the way, I forgot to mention, this guy is John Williams. He's the New York Fed president. Every state has their own Fed president, and this is New York's. Whoops.
Thought it would just a few months ago. With these dots, with this position now, do you think you finally caught up to where you need to be?
Well, I think we're well on our way there. And I think when you look at the kind of the central tendency of the dots, my colleagues expect the Fed funds rate to get to, say, 5 to 5.5% next year. I think that gets us into that hopefully sufficiently restrictive stance of policy that will bring inflation back to 2%. So I am getting increasingly confident that we're getting closer to that point. But obviously, we have to watch the data. The inflation and other data have surprised us, and we need to be on the lookout for that. But I do feel we're getting to a better place.
Now, just about 2 weeks ago, you said that the Fed funds rate has to get above the inflation rate to bring down inflation. How far above inflation does it have to get?
Well, that's the question, right? In way we talk about this as in terms of sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation back to 2%. So to me, it's really about getting it high enough, and of course keeping it high for enough time to really see clear signs that inflation is moving back down on the way to 2%. My view is you have to think about real interest.
That means no knee-jerk reactions, right? Just like even right now, what happened with the Fed, even though the CPI came in pretty good, the Fed didn't do a knee-jerk reaction and say, okay, well, lower the basis point hike that they just did. No, they said, nope, we're staying the course. We're going to go ahead and still hit the Fed's fund rate by 50 basis points and move forward.
Interest rates, as you said, if you look at, again, the median dots, if you will, in the economic projections we just put out, you see the real Fed funds rate, say the Fed funds rate minus the core PC inflation, around 1.5%. I think that's a reasonable view of restrictive. Again, whether it's sufficiently restrictive, we'll have to watch the data and see, but I think that's, to me, basically where I'm thinking right now.
Now, there's many top economists, former Fed officials even, who are saying it's looking more and more like you are going to have to go higher, even than where you are now. Maybe something like 6, maybe something heading towards 7%.
I hope not.
Can you see that happening? And what circumstances, what would be happening for that you have to go ahead like that?
Well, that's definitely not my baseline, as I just indicated. I don't think we'll need to go real interest rates that high. But of course, things could happen differently than we expect, and we'd have to, especially around inflation, but also how strong is the economy, even with higher interest rates? Do we still have these imbalances between supply and demand? Right now, I mean, PC inflation is 6% over the last 12 months, and we have clear signs that demand exceeds supply in our economy and our labor market. So to me, the question of how high we have to get to is really going to depend on what we see in inflation and the supply and demand imbalance. Again, my base case is we don't have to get that high. I think we have some favorable developments underway, things that we've been talking about for a long time. Supply chains definitely are getting better around the world. We're seeing that in a lot of different data. And we're also seeing, some of the goods prices and import prices come down, a reversal of some of those pandemic era things that pushed up inflation. So we've got a few factors I think are going to bring inflation down to 3 to 3.5% next year. But then the real issue is how do we get it all the way to 2?
All right. So you can obviously go watch the rest of that video if you guys want to look it up, Bloomberg Business. you know, that it was a pretty good interview. It was kind of lengthy. It's 12 minutes long, but you know, stuff people like me, we like that. So what are the big takeaways? So they're expecting for the Fed funds rate to be in the fours. That's in the fours right now, to go up to 5 or 5.5 is what he's saying that his professional partners are saying. Okay, but I mean that's not bad, right? Historically, we'll take that. The goal is for the Fed's funds rate to be above the inflation rate. Well, right now CPI came in at 7.1. We're in the fours for the Fed's funds rate, so we still got a ways to go. Now, I gotta admit that it looks like the Fed might have been doing a decent job right now. And what I'm trying to get at is, I was thinking we were gonna go for a huge crash, and we still might. But I don't think it's gonna be as bad as I would have expected. I think that they're actually going to possibly get this soft landing that they're talking about. Meaning, the reports are going to show we're in recession. We're still losing jobs like crazy right now. And I think deflation is going to be huge in the next couple of months. However, with that being said, I thought it was going to be 2008 type of tsunami, and it looks like it's not going to be that at the moment. And that's what I'm seeing. As a matter of fact, I'm predicting that next year is going to be probably my biggest income producing year. And it's not normally going to be like that if it's going back to 2008, right? So, of course, a lot of people are going to get hurt in the next couple of months. Of course, unemployment is going to continue to rise. But I still think that the Fed, as of late, and I think they need to do another basis point hike in January, at least 25 basis points, if not another 50. But after that, then hopefully we start tapering off and then maybe just keep it at a certain level, just so that we can see what the numbers come back at. Also, China. Once China gets back into the market, I mean, their zero COVID policy, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, right? Zero COVID, two plus years later, and their vaccines don't even work. I can't wrap my mind around that, but that's a sector that's been crawling. As soon as those guys get back up and running, and they've been hurting companies like Tesla, Apple, and then a whole bunch of us little guys that would sell shirts. As soon as they're back up and rolling, expect for deflation to come in strong, which is not good. As I explained in a previous video, it can be good for some, but for the most part, it's not good for the economy. It's actually horrible for the economy. But it looks like, as of right now, the Fed is doing a pretty good job. Listen, hopefully they don't do any knee-jerk reactions. I do hope that they do one more Fed funds rate hike, maybe 25 or 50. And then we'll see how things start to go by March, April, May next year. Hopefully we're starting to get back on a trajectory. Hopefully inflation's low. They're expecting inflation to be at like 3% for next year, but obviously their goal was for 2% overall, and that's good. Inflation anywhere between 1% to 3% is relatively good. All right, so hopefully I didn't talk too much. Hopefully that was interesting, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you have any questions, you need anything, please give me a phone call, email, anything. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. All right, as you guys know, always remember, life is not meant to be, it's meant to create. Too strong.